Ladies and gentlemen, every single day is a chance to become the woman you're meant to be, not the one the world expects, not the one who lives in fear of judgment or perfection, the one who owns her time, her choices, and her power. But that version of you doesn't appear by accident. She is built one habit at a time, one decision at a time, one morning at a time. These habits are not about doing more, they're about doing what matters. They're about taking back your energy and putting it where it belongs, into your growth, your peace, your strength, and your vision. You don't need permission to start. You don't need the perfect plan. What you need is to decide you're done waiting, because your habits are either making you stronger or keeping you stuck. There's no in between. You either run the day or the day runs you, and that starts the moment your feet hit the floor in the morning. Mastering these 10 habits isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. It's not about hustling until you burn out, it's about choosing alignment over chaos. When you know who you want to be, your habits stop being a struggle and start becoming your foundation. You begin to realize that every morning routine, every journal page, every minute you say no to what drains you, that is your power in motion. That is how transformation begins. Start with movement, because your body carries your energy. Even 5 minutes of stretching or walking reminds you that you're alive and in control. Next, protect your mind. What you watch, read, and scroll affects how you think. Feed your mind with content that lifts you. Silence the noise so you can hear your own wisdom again. Build the habit of discipline. That doesn't mean strict schedules. It means doing what you said you'd do long after the mood has left. Discipline is the root of confidence, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove to your own mind that you can be trusted. And that is where self-respect is born. Set boundaries daily. Say no to what doesn't serve the woman you're becoming. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They let the right people and energy in. Without them, you leak time, attention, and joy. Boundaries protect your future. Carve out moments of silence, not to be productive but to be present. That quiet time reconnects you with your voice, your values, and your direction. It doesn't need to be an hour, just enough time to get clear before the world pulls you in 100 directions. Create before you consume, whether it's writing, thinking, or speaking. Use your voice before you let someone else's voice shape your day. This shifts your energy from reactive to intentional. It reminds you that you are the architect, not the audience. And finally, show up. Not perfectly, not with everything figured out, just show up. Do the thing, make the call, walk in the room, start the project, say what you need to say. Showing up will always take you further than waiting to feel ready. Every habit is a vote for the woman you want to become. So vote wisely, daily, relentlessly, because nothing will change until you change what you do daily. And the woman you dream of being, she's already inside you. These habits are how you let her lead. Discipline builds confidence, and that's not just a phrase people throw around, it's a foundational truth. Most people overlook confidence doesn't come from compliments. It doesn't come from how many likes you get or how many people cheer you on. It comes from something much deeper, something rooted in your own actions and how consistently you show up for yourself when no one is watching. Confidence is the result of discipline, because discipline is proof you can be trusted by the one person who matters most, you. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you send a signal to your brain that you are reliable, that you follow through, that you finish what you start. And those signals are not just mental, they're emotional and physical too. They build a sense of internal safety and power, because you're not waiting on someone else to validate you. You're not waiting for the right circumstances. You're not waiting for motivation. You're doing what needs to be done because you said you would, and that is powerful. Discipline is waking up and showing up on the days when you don't feel like it. Not because it's fun or easy, but because your future matters more than your feelings in the moment. It's going to the gym when your bed feels more comfortable. It's finishing the project when procrastination would be easier. It's choosing the uncomfortable conversation over silent resentment. It's the habit of choosing growth over comfort over and over again. And every time you make that choice, every time you resist the temptation to quit or delay or justify, you add another layer to your confidence. Because confidence isn't arrogance. It's not loud or showy. It's calm. It's grounded. It's that quiet voice in your head that says, I've done hard things before and I can do them again. And that voice only grows louder the more you train it with discipline. Without discipline, your confidence depends on your mood, your environment, your past, your external achievements, and all of those things are unpredictable. But with discipline, your confidence becomes consistent, because you no longer have to wonder if you're capable. You know you are, because you've seen yourself do the work. It's easy to look at people who seem confident and assume they were born that way, but most confident people built it. They built it by making uncomfortable decisions, by pushing through when they were afraid, by doing the boring and difficult tasks no one else wanted to do, by showing up again and again when no one was clapping for them. That's where real confidence is born. And if you're lacking confidence in yourself, the first place to look is your daily habits. Ask yourself, what promises have you made that you keep breaking? What small wins are you ignoring? What shortcuts are you taking? Because every time you avoid doing what you know you should do, you chip away at your self-respect, and that's what makes confidence fragile. But the good news is it's also rebuildable. You don't need to make some grand gesture to start regaining your confidence. Just start small, pick one promise and keep it for 1 week, then another, and watch how you begin to walk differently, talk differently, and show up with more clarity and strength. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being committed. It's about knowing that no matter how chaotic life gets, you have your own back. And that kind of trust in yourself changes everything. It changes how you walk into rooms, how you handle rejection, how you face failure, and how you keep going, even when the path is unclear. Because confidence built on discipline doesn't crumble when life gets hard. It becomes the foundation you stand on, and it reminds you every single day that you're not just hoping, you're becoming someone powerful, one disciplined choice at a time. Boundaries create freedom, and at first that might sound like a contradiction, because we've been conditioned to believe that freedom means saying yes to everything and everyone, keeping the peace, being agreeable, accommodating every request, and being available all the time. But the truth is that kind of life isn't freedom, it's chaos disguised as kindness, and exhaustion masked as responsibility. Real freedom comes when you draw a line and protect your peace, your energy, and your time. Are afraid to set boundaries because they think it will make them look selfish, rude, or uncaring. But boundaries are not about being mean, they're about being honest. They're not about pushing people away, they're about protecting the space where you can grow, heal, and thrive without constant interruption, without manipulation, without guilt or pressure. Boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to a healthier life, to stronger relationships, and to a deeper sense of control over your choices. When you live without boundaries, your life doesn't feel like your own. It feels like a constant reaction to someone else's wants, needs, and expectations. You say yes when you mean no. You allow behaviors that drain you. You tolerate conversations that leave you feeling heavy, and you pretend to be okay with things that are quietly breaking you inside, and over time, that erodes your confidence, your energy, and even your identity. But the moment you decide to set a boundary, something shifts. You start showing up differently. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, more focused. You start reclaiming your time and protecting your emotional bandwidth. You stop apologizing for needing space, and you start honoring the version of you who is ready to grow and rise. Boundaries are the act of saying, I matter too. My needs, my time, and my mental well-being are not negotiable, and that changes everything. It doesn't mean people will always like it. In fact, some won't, because they benefited from you not having any boundaries. They liked the version of you that said yes to everything. They liked the version of you that stayed quiet, that kept the peace, that didn't speak up. But the moment you start to change those patterns, you'll notice who truly respects you and who only tolerated you when you were convenient. That clarity is priceless, because it frees you from the illusion of connection that was built on your silence. It frees you from relationships that cost you your self-respect, and from situations that were never aligned with your values in the first place. Boundaries give you the freedom to choose the life you actually want, not the one you've been conditioned to accept. They also teach people how to treat you. They send a message that says this is the standard, this is what's okay, and this is what isn't. And people who respect you will respect those boundaries. They might not like them at first, but they will adapt, because healthy people want to love and support you in a way that doesn't cost you your peace. The most powerful thing about boundaries is that they create space, not just space from others, but space for yourself, space to think clearly, to make better decisions, to be creative, to feel joy, and to recover from all the emotional clutter that comes with constantly managing other people's expectation. So, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, resentful, or disconnected from yourself, it's not because you're broken, it's because your boundaries are, and it's never too late to fix that. It starts with one conversation, one decision, one moment of clarity, where you choose your well-being over the comfort of keeping others happy, and in that moment, you begin to experience real freedom, the kind that lets you breathe deeply, walk confidently, and live your life on your own terms. Movement shifts your mood, and that truth is far more powerful than most people realize, because we've been taught to treat our minds and our bodies as if they are two separate systems. But the truth is, they are deeply connected. Your physical state influences your emotional state, and sometimes the best way to get out of your head is to get into your body. When you feel stuck, anxious, overwhelmed, or unmotivated, the last thing you want to do is move, but ironically, that's the very thing that can change
everything. Your body holds emotion, not just your mind. When you're stressed, your shoulders tighten, your breath shortens, your chest gets heavy, your muscles tense, and that physical state becomes a trap for your thoughts. And the longer you stay in that static physical position, the more those negative emotions build and loop over and over in your mind. But the moment you move even just a little, you start to disrupt that cycle, because movement sends new signals to your brain. It says we're not stuck, we're not frozen, we're capable of change and direction and energy. It doesn't have to be a full workout or a trip to the gym. It can be something simple, like taking a walk, dancing for 2 minutes around your room, stretching or shaking out your arms, anything that engages your body in a way that signals action, because action is what shifts emotion. It gives your mind a new focus, your body a new rhythm, and your heart a little space to breathe again. Movement is medicine. It releases endorphins, the chemicals in your brain that create feelings of happiness, clarity, and calm. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps you in fight or flight. It improves blood flow, oxygenates your brain, and starts a domino effect of positive changes that elevate your mood, not by chance, but by biology. This isn't just feel-good advice, it's neuroscience. And here's what's most empowering about it. You don't have to feel good to start moving. In fact, most of the time you won't feel like it. That's the trap people fall into. They wait for motivation to show up before they act, but that's backwards. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. You move first, then the energy comes. You take the step, then the momentum builds. You create the shift by doing, not by thinking about doing. When you start building movement into your day, even in small ways, you'll notice how quickly your mood responds. You'll start to trust your body as a resource, not just something you carry around, but something that can help you process emotion, clear your head, and break through mental fog. And you'll begin to understand that your energy is not just something you have, it's something you can generate through action. This is especially important when you're dealing with anxiety, depression, self-doubt, or any emotional weight that feels paralyzing. Movement gives you a way out, a door that you can open with your own hands. It's a reminder that you're not powerless, you're not stuck, and you're not broken. You just need to move to change your perspective, to rewire your state, and to reclaim your sense of agency. So the next time you feel off or heavy or lost, don't just sit with it. Stand up, walk around, stretch, breathe, move your body like it's the key to your freedom, because in many ways it is. And the more you practice using movement as a tool, the more you'll realize you don't have to be at the mercy of your mood. You can shift it, you can shape it, and you can do it through something as simple and powerful as moving your body with purpose and intention. Clarity starts with silence, and in a world that stops talking, it can be hard to understand how powerful that truth really is. Every moment we're being bombarded by noise, notifications, social media, conversations, news, opinions, background distractions, and a constant flood of stimulation that keeps our minds busy, but not necessarily clear. And when we're surrounded by that much external input, it becomes incredibly difficult to hear what really matters: our own thoughts, our own values, our own truth. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the space where understanding begins. It's where the chaos quiets down long enough for us to listen, not just to the world around us, but to ourselves, to what we need, to what we want to, what we know deep down but haven't had the courage or stillness to admit. Silence is where confusion dissolves, not all at once, but gradually, like fog lifting off a morning field, revealing what's always been there waiting to be seen. When you don't create moments of silence, you become reactive. Your mind runs on loops. Thoughts tangle with fears and doubts. Decision-making becomes harder. Emotions feel bigger and louder. And clarity feels like a luxury you can't afford. But when you intentionally choose to pause, to step away from the noise, even for a few minutes, a shift happens. Your nervous system starts to regulate, your thoughts begin to organize, and the urgency to have it all figured out begins to fade. You stop reacting and start reflecting, and that is where insight lives. Not in the rush, but in the stillness. When you give yourself permission to be silent, you start to notice what's been pulling at your attention. In unhealthy ways, you begin to distinguish what's urgent from what's important, what's yours to carry from what's not, and most importantly, you reconnect with your intuition, the inner guidance system that gets drowned out when the volume of life is too high. You don't have to escape to a mountaintop to find this kind of silence. You can find it in the early moments of the morning, before the world wakes up, in your car, before going into a meeting, during a short walk without your phone, or in the space of a deep breath taken with full intention. It doesn't take hours, it takes presence, the choice to stop talking, stop scrolling, stop absorbing, and instead just be. Clarity isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover, and silence is the tool that helps you do it. When you practice it regularly, you start to build a kind of inner muscle, a knowing that grows stronger and more certain over time. You'll begin to trust yourself more, because in the quiet you'll hear the voice that's been there all along, the one that's calm, wise, and deeply aligned with who you are and who you're becoming. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers, but most people never stay quiet long enough to hear them, and so they stay stuck, spinning, trying to think their way out of every problem, when the real solution is to stop thinking just long enough to listen. Silence offers space, and space offers clarity, and clarity brings peace, direction, and power. So if your mind feels foggy, if your heart feels conflicted, if your path feels unclear, stop searching for more noise, and seek out the silence within it. You'll find the clarity you've been craving, not from the outside world, but from the quiet truth that's already inside you, waiting patiently to be heard. What you consume shapes your mindset, and most people underestimate just how true and powerful that statement is. We often think of consumption only in terms of food and drink, but what we feed,
Our minds is just as important and arguably even more impactful because it directly influences the way we think, feel, act, and relate to the world around us. Everything you expose yourself to, every word you read, every video you watch, every conversation you engage in, every environment you spend time in becomes part of your mental diet, and just like your physical health is a reflection of your nutrition, your mental and emotional state is a reflection of what you allow into your mind. You cannot expect to build confidence, resilience, focus, and peace if what you're consuming every day is rooted in fear, comparison, drama, or negativity. If you start your day by scrolling through social media, being bombarded with curated lives and filtered perfection, you're setting yourself up to doubt your own path. If you constantly take in news cycles filled with outrage and conflict, you're feeding anxiety and helplessness. If you're surrounded by people who gossip, criticize, or complain, you're programming your brain to do the same. Your brain is like a sponge. It doesn't filter out what's helpful and what's harmful. It absorbs what it's given, and over time that input shapes your perspective, your attitude, and your beliefs. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing what you consume. It's not just about turning off the noise, it's about actively choosing what fuels you and helps you grow. Start paying attention to how you feel after spending time on certain platforms, after watching a certain show, after talking to a certain person. Do you feel drained or do you feel energized? Do you feel more grounded or more anxious? Do you feel more clear or more confused? Those feelings are not random, they are direct feedback about the quality of your mental diet, and it is your responsibility to adjust accordingly. The most powerful people are intentional about their input. They read books that challenge their thinking and expand their worldview. They listen to podcasts that inspire and educate. They surround themselves with people who uplift and encourage them. They guard their attention because they understand it is a limited and valuable resource. If you spend your attention on things that deplete you, you're robbing yourself of the energy you need to build something meaningful. You don't need to cut yourself off from the world, but you do need to be selective. Not every opinion needs your attention. Not every piece of content deserves your time. Not every trend aligns with your values. You get to decide what enters your mental space, and by doing so you take back control of your mindset. One of the simplest ways to elevate your life is to upgrade your input. Instead of reaching for your phone in the morning, read a chapter of a book that motivates you. Instead of watching mindless videos before bed, journal or reflect on your day. Instead of engaging in gossip, listen to something that deepens your perspective. Make conscious choices to expose your mind to what helps you grow, and you'll start to see your thoughts, your habits, and your self-talk begin to transform. What you consume is not neutral. It either builds you up or breaks you down. There is no in between, and once you become aware of that truth, you can no longer be passive about what you let into your mental space. Protect your mind like you would protect your home. Filter what you allow in, and be ruthless about it, because your mindset is the foundation for everything you do, and what you feed it is what it becomes. Showing up is more powerful than being perfect, and yet so many people spend their lives chasing the illusion of perfection. Instead of embracing the power of presence, we live in a world where perfection is marketed everywhere on social media, in advertising, in comparison culture. We're taught to hide our flaws, mask our struggles, and only share our polished, finished versions of ourselves. But here's the truth: perfection is a myth, it's a trap. It keeps you stuck in fear of not being enough while life passes you by. The real power lies in showing up, especially when things aren't perfect, when you don't have it all figured out, when you're still learning, when you're scared, when you're tired, when you're doubting yourself. Showing up in those moments takes more strength and courage than being flawless ever could, because it means you're choosing progress over perfection. It means you're saying, my presence matters even when I feel messy, even when I'm not at my best, even when I'm still growing. Perfection will tell you to wait until everything is ready, until you look a certain way, until you're more confident, until the timing is better. But showing up says do it anyway. Start now. Begin where you are. Use what you have. Give what you can. That is where growth happens. That is where resilience is built. Not in the moments where you're polished, but in the ones where you push through anyway. Showing up builds confidence because you're proving to yourself that you can take action despite your fear. And every time you do, that you build trust in yourself. You don't learn by being perfect. You learn by participating, by trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Perfection avoids failure at all costs, but showing up embraces failure as part of the journey. And it is through that journey that wisdom is born, experience is earned, and authenticity is revealed. People don't connect with your perfection. They connect with your realness, your vulnerability, your willingness to keep showing up despite setbacks. When you prioritize showing up, you begin to shift your identity. You stop saying I can't and start saying I will. You stop being someone who waits and start becoming someone who leads. And you start building a life based on action, not appearance. Perfection might impress, but showing up creates impact because it means you're reliable, you're consistent, and you're not afraid to face hard things head on. There is something deeply powerful about a person who keeps showing up in life, not just when it's convenient, not not just when they feel like it, but when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when they have every reason to quit but choose not to. That kind of presence, that kind of persistence will take you further than any talent or perfect plan ever will. You don't need to be the smartest, the most talented, the most polished person in the room. You just need to be the one who keeps showing up, who keeps learning, who keeps improving, who keeps going. People will underestimate you. People will overlook you, and that's okay, because your power isn't in being perfect. It's in being present, in being consistent, in being someone who doesn't give up. So stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect feeling, the perfect version of yourself to begin. Your power is already within you, and the way you access it is by showing up again and again and again, even when it's messy, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because the people who change their lives and the lives of others aren't the ones who look perfect. They're the ones who refuse to quit. They're the ones who show up. Respecting your time transforms your life, because time is the one resource you can never get back. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. Yet so many people treat it as if it's unlimited, giving it away to people who don't value them, spending it on things that drain their energy, wasting it on distractions that offer no return on investment. Your time is your life, and when you start treating it with the respect it deserves, everything begins to change. Your priorities become clearer, your confidence grows, your relationships become more intentional, and your sense of purpose deepens. When you don't respect your time, you invite chaos, confusion, and resentment into your life. You find yourself saying yes to things you don't want to do. You find your schedule filled with obligations that pull you in 100 different directions. You end your day exhausted, wondering where your energy went and what you actually accomplished. You fall into patterns of procrastination or overcommitment because you haven't drawn a line around what truly matters. But the moment you start protecting your time like the treasure it is, the moment everything starts to shift. Respecting your time means understanding that every minute you spend is either adding value to your life or taking it away. It means becoming ruthlessly honest about what you give your attention to. It means saying no without guilt when something doesn't align with your goals or values. It means recognizing that being busy is not the same as being productive, and that rest is not laziness, it's strategy, it's renewal, it's essential. One of the biggest breakthroughs you'll have is realizing you don't owe your time to everyone. Not every call needs to be answered. Not every text needs to be replied to immediately. Not every meeting needs your presence. You're allowed to decline. You're allowed to protect your peace. You're allowed to prioritize yourself and your growth. Time spent in alignment with your values and vision is never wasted, but time spent trying to please everyone else often is. People who respect their time live with clarity. They're not constantly rushing. They're not drowning in to-do lists. They've learned to focus on what matters most and to let go of what doesn't. They understand that every yes is a no to something else, so they make those decisions intentionally. If something doesn't deserve their time, it doesn't get it. They're not rude, they're focused, and that focus is a form of self-respect. The more you begin to value your time, the more others will too. When you respect your schedule, others start to honor it. When you set boundaries, others start to take them seriously. And when you show up for your time with discipline and purpose, you start building a life that reflects your deepest values instead of one that's reactive and scattered. Time respect also means managing your own distractions and habits. It means being honest about how much time you lose, scrolling, how much energy you give to things that don't matter, how often you delay what you know is important because it's uncomfortable. Success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what matters most consistently, and that starts with honoring your time. You don't need more hours in the day, you need to be more intentional with the hours you have, and that requires courage. It means saying no to good things so you can say yes to great things. It means walking away from urgency and into purpose. It means choosing quality over quantity, presence over perfection, depth over surface. When you start respecting your time, you stop living by default and start living by design. You become the architect of your days and therefore the author of your life, and that kind of power starts with a simple truth. Your time is valuable. Treat it like it is.